There's a risk-cost equation happening here, which I think will play out in the longer term, because once services return to normal through the Middle East carriers will be very, very keen to price encourage their customers to come back to them and retain their place as major players in the global aviation market.
What can you tell us about the airspace in the Middle East following the US President's decision to delay threatened strikes on Iran's energy plants?
The airspace is looking a little bit more positive. Emirates have been building up their flights for quite a few weeks now, and at the moment, as I speak to you, they've got about 75 flights in the air at the moment, either to and from Dubai. Etihad's about 30 flights in and out of Abu Dhabi. And what's interesting though is Qatar has started a limited service into Doha, and at this current time there's about 18 or 19 flights either inbound or outbound from Doha. So there seems to be more activity, although still restricted.
So is it fair to say that it is only Middle East carriers taking up the opportunity at this stage to fly to those airports?
No, there are other airlines, a number of airlines that are doing that, but it's very limited. We're not seeing people like British Airways return to Dubai or anything like that. It's more local, regional carriers that are availing themselves of aircraft slots.
Qantas has sought to reassure investors that it has fuel supplies secured into April, but both of Australia's main carriers, Qantas and Virgin, given their code share arrangements with Middle East carriers, have been hard hit by this war. Is it clear yet just how much the disruption has cost them?
No, the cost is not yet clear. Let's deal with Qantas first of all. Yes, I have spoken to Qantas at length, and they've got fuel supplies virtually guaranteed through late April into May. It's a month-by-month proposition, and there's plenty of oil and jet fuel on the way, so that's not an issue so much. The disruption to services is, and that's a cost that's very hard to define, but like Virgin losing that Qatar link, that's certainly impacting them. Hopefully, that will resolve itself within a month. So the wash up of all of this is going to be very difficult to quantify for some time, because of it's at multiple levels, fuel cost or disruption costs, cancellation costs, rebooking costs, etc.
And does the disruption look set to continue into the medium term, given we don't really have an end to this war yet, and it is probably around now that people thinking about visiting Europe for the summer would be likely to want to book?
Well, that's a very good point, and that's one of the things that's happening, as people who are wanting to go to Europe are now booking either with Qantas on their various services, or Cathay or Malaysian or Singapore Airlines, and they're not booking with the Middle East carriers. And so in the medium term for the Middle East carriers, this is a real problem, because they're losing a lot of bookings. People are moving to other carriers. So in the medium term, it's a big issue for them.
And is it a bigger issue for Virgin? Because it does sound like Qantas has some other options here.
Oh, look, indeed. Virgin's putting its toe in the water with its alliance with Qatar, an important toe in the water. It's more like a foot in the water. But yes, it certainly disrupts them. It's very unfortunate for them, but hopefully it won't last too much longer.
Given the airlines' rolling price reviews, given the volatile energy situation, do travellers have to expect they will be paying higher prices to travel, no matter the route?
Look, yes, it's a rather interesting situation at the moment. If you go onto the Qantas or Singapore Airlines websites, going to London from Australia is about $3,000 one way. However, on the Qantas website, you can book a flight to London on their code share with Emirates, and the fare is $1,000. So there's a risk-cost equation happening here, which I think will play out in the longer term, because once services return to normal through the Middle East carriers will be very, very keen to price encourage their customers to come back to them and retain their place as major players in the global aviation market.
How successful do you think they will be when that time comes? Do you see the carriers being able to re-establish themselves as a fully functioning transit hub, or even the Gulf in general as a holiday destination or a place for expats to reside?
Look, I really do. First of all, the brands are they're amazing brands, the three major Middle East carriers. The other thing is the price. There are people, of course, who don't like flying. There's about 30% of the population is afraid of flying. So flying through the Middle East immediately ticks a box that, no, we're not going to go through the Middle East. But then you've got all the opportunistic flyers who can't resist a bargain. And I'm sure that Emirates and Qatar and Etihad will put into the marketplace some very attractive fares, and people will say, well, I wasn't planning to go to Europe, but now I am because I can't resist this fare. So I think they will encourage people with some very keen pricing, and I think they'll get a very strong response to that.
Geoffrey Thomas, good to speak to you.
Pleasure.